start.
Okay, so before we start, it's going to be a good idea if we can get a platform of agreement where we agree, because I think we probably agree on a lot. So I'm going to make some statements I expect you to agree with, but if you don't, then please say. So first of all, whatever diet that you're eating, as a starting point, we need it to be as near natural and as least toxic as possible. So we don't want food, whether it be plant or animal, where man has messed with it and introduced toxins and all kinds of GMO in the case of plants, or even animals now, actually. So I think we're going to both agree that we don't want any of that in any food that we.
Great, yeah, nature, yes.
Yeah, so we want the most natural version of the food possible, whatever it might be.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So that's great that we can agree with that.
Yes.
Secondly, I think we can probably agree that we both don't trust what the governments tell us about health, whether it be medicine, diet, or anything else. We don't trust the government's viewpoint on these things. Can we agree on that?
Yes.
Yeah, good. I thought we would be able to agree on that. So, secondly, I want to make it clear that in terms of a vegan diet, I'm not saying that short term it's necessarily a bad thing. In fact, I recommend a vegan diet short term in some situations. So we can both agree that a vegan diet, at least short term, can be healthy.
Yes.
I don't want to give the impression that I'm saying it's always a bad thing in all circumstances, for it's not. I would agree in short term situations and even maybe medium term some situations. So my argument is going to be long term, as a long term diet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what we're looking for and what the debate will be on is what is a healthy long term diet, not short term, because even water fasting is healthy short term, very short term in that case. Okay. So we can agree on quite a few things there.
Yes.
So that's cool. Okay, so in order to determine a diet being healthy, how would you say by what method would you determine, yes, this is a healthy diet? Obviously, the people need to remain healthy on that diet, but for how long? That's a question which I think is going to be really key here. So how long do we need to look at a diet before we can determine it is healthy?
Gotcha. Yes. Well, one of the things with the word diet that I like to point out is the word die in the word diet. And there's always about like restriction or counting calories or nutritional facts or what do they say, whoever they are. And so we want to go more to a living it or a lifestyle instead of a diet. So what would I consider the best? What would be considered healthy for short term and long term and any term? Is that what the question is?
The question is, how long do we need to study a diet, look at the evidence before we can determine it's a healthy diet? Like, can we do a week, a year, a lifetime, multiple generations? How long do we need to look over?
It's a good question. Well, one, we want to know what it is that the people are eating or what the diet really is. If you say the word vegan diet, that could mean, I don't know, a dozen different things. A lot of different things.
I'm using the term for vegan diet. I'm using the term meaning no animal products in that diet. Now, within that, you can obviously eat a pile of crap. You could eat pizzas every day, and that would perhaps that would be a vegan diet. But it would be a vegan diet that we both would agree would definitely be unhealthy. But so what I'm looking at is the best version of a vegan diet and comparing it to the best version of an omnivore diet.
Yeah, gotcha.
To make it fair, so we're going to remove processed crap and all the rest of it from both diets because we would both agree that that's abysmal. right?
Yes.
So a good balanced omnivore diet compared with a good balanced, as far as you can balance a vegan diet, which is already not balanced in my opinion, but as far as you can balance a vegan diet, a good balanced diet. So we now have people eat this diet, and my question to you, I've got a strong view on this, but I'm interested in your view. How long do we need to have people eat this diet and remain healthy before we can say, yes, this is a healthy diet?
Gotcha. So my first answer that popped to my head is, I don't know. The second answer that came to my head, I started to think about maybe around 10 to 20 years. You know, this is just my thinking, because there's nowhere like written like this is how long you need to do it. It's just all going to be like theory and what we think. So I'm going to go based on I've heard some extensive research in one area saying that our body can remake itself like just about completely in 7 years. So I'm just going to go with the number 7. And I don't feel so strongly about that number, but that's my final answer.
Okay.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it for this one.
This is an issue that we need to come to some agreement on before we can really go forward, because I would strongly disagree with 7 years. And I've got a good scientific reason for doing that. And that is that when they've done studies on diet in animals, such as rats, for example, they've done studies on GMO corn, which we both agree is very bad. But it's taken 3 generations before they've seen the real damage that that's done. And the 3rd generation are sterile.
Is what?
The 3rd generation of rats are sterile. So
I see.
They don't see that in the 1st generation. Obviously, you can't do that with humans because it takes too long. That's why you do it with animals.
Yes.
But there's many studies being done on diet, and many times the damage is not seen until subsequent generations. In some cases, the 5th generation. 3 generations.
Okay.
3 generations is more typical. So one of the things that can happen, which I just mentioned, is sterility. So of course,
is what?
Sterility.
Is what?
Sterility. Not being able to reproduce.
I see.
So that's not seen in the 1st generation.
Gotcha.
Okay, so it takes at least 1 generation before you see that, because the damage is subtle and it adds up over a period. So I would say to you that based on the science of studying diet in animals, we know for a fact that much of the damage is increased over the different generations, and it can be up to 5 generations, maybe more, but certainly 5. So therefore, to conclude that a diet is definitely healthy, we need to be looking at multiple generations at least 3.
Based on the study of the rats, or
and there's many studies. There's many studies on this. So that's my first point. So for us to declare a diet to be healthy, we need it multiple generations, because there's damage that you wouldn't know necessarily. I don't know how old you are, Steve. How old are you?
50.
50. So you potentially probably wouldn't know if you were sterile or not at 50, probably.
Yeah, maybe not. I'm not sure. But I do know about Agra, and that everything works down there with raw food. I have a whole raw vocabulary.
We don't need to get into that.
Well, that's one of the actual benefits of doing raw.
Actually, I would agree with you there. I actually would agree with you. You're right on that. So
I help a lot of men put lead in their pencil. As a coach,
I do agree that there's benefits there. Right, so now we've established the multiple generations. So my next question to you would be, where are the studies of multiple generations of vegans that we can look at and say, okay, yes, this is the 5th generation of vegans, and they're healthy and full of vitality, and therefore we can conclude that a vegan diet is healthy. Where are these studies?
Yes. Well, one, the 5-generation rule or thing that you came up with is something I'm just kind of going along with, like the 5 generations. And that, no, there's not. I don't know any 5-generation vegans.
How about
the
3
most
generations?
I know.
How about 3 generations?
I don't even know a 2.
No.
Well, wait. There's a couple of vegans that were born vegan, and they're doing quite well, and they're like 20, 25 years old. But that to me,
yeah.
What I have seen, like a long-term vegan diet seems to be working for quite a few people I know, and many people that I have heard of, it didn't work for, and they went back to the meat, and they felt better immediately. And I don't know if you got to see my video, but I talked about yesterday why a lot of times when people go back to whatever they used to do, it doesn't matter if it's meat or not, they feel better.
Right. And however, my point, Steve, here is, look, we could get into individuals and whether they've done well over 20 years or whatever. Oftentimes we don't know all the facts of an individual, but really scientifically we need a large number of people to look at rather than individuals, because we could, using individuals, we could say, look, I've got this, my grandma who smoked till she's 90 and she doesn't have cancer and doesn't have this, and we can't use that to draw any real conclusions from. We need to look at a big group, and right now there is no big group of vegans over multiple generations, not many even that have done 30, 40 years. So what I would say to you right off the bat is that the vegan movement right now is an experiment. And I'm not saying that there's no advantages. I'm not, because I know that I've used vegan diets to achieve certain ends, to achieve certain health goals, and that it can be used. But I would say that's just like water fasting can also be used, but it doesn't mean that we're going to stay on it for forever. So what I would argue to start with, Steve, is that we literally do not have the data to be able to conclude that a vegan diet is long-term healthy. We just don't have.
Okay.
Now that doesn't prove it's unhealthy.
Yeah, I understand.
That doesn't prove it's unhealthy, but it does mean we can't prove it's healthy.
Correct.
Okay.
I agree that there is not 2, 3, or 4, 5 generations of showing. Correct.
Right. Okay. So I think we can agree there then that we can't prove a vegan diet to be long-term healthy. Short-term healthy, wouldn't have any argument it can be healthy. But long-term healthy, there's no evidence of that yet. Now, I believe that evidence will never appear. But until we have the data.
Well, it might, because a lot of people are now like recording stuff. It's becoming a big thing to be vegan and popular.
Oh, no. I believe we'll have data. I believe we'll have data. What I'm saying is I believe the data will show it to be unhealthy when we have that data. But
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. I didn't hear the last bit. I think I'm going through some mountains right now. But go ahead.
No worries. Yeah. Okay. So it's good that we've come to agreement there. So my next question to you, which I'm interested in your answer, is if vegan is correct, if that's the diet that's healthiest and meant for man, but mankind, I mean women as well in that, that means we're herbivores. And we're just herbivores that didn't know it. And we've been eating animal products against our nature without realizing that we're actually herbivores. That would be your position, I'm assuming.
More so frugivore. But
yes, go a step further. Frugivore.
For sure, frugivore. Even more that fruit is the dominant, based on what chimpanzees and gorillas that are 99.4% of our DNA do without any marketing or help. And then we got all these studies. There was one about 10,000 years ago in the Paleolithic era, because paleo was really popular. It still is, but it was like especially a couple of years ago. And their whole thing was they found a paleo poop from the Paleolithic era, and what they found in paleo poop was 7 times the amount of fiber that humans are supposed to get. Not how 7 times the amount humans get today. 7 times the amount that we're, quote unquote, supposed to get by the experts. And what's interesting about that is that meat has 0 fiber. So there's a lot of like what's been recorded and who said what about what that brings us to these conclusions. And personal experience, I have never found anything to compare to that with when someone has a personal experience.
Personally, I would be very dubious about taking the poop of it. I mean, depending on the time of year, if they were to take mine, they might. I've had days where I've eaten nothing but fruit. I've done that. But I've fasts where I've just eaten fruit.
Yeah.
And if they took my, they might conclude that I was a fruitarian, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'd be very dubious about that when it's just telling you about what you've eaten in the very recent past.
Yes.
So I wouldn't take that. But if we're herbivores or fruitarians, even more extreme, as you would say, and we've been eating the wrong diet, first of all, there is no civilization that we've ever can prove that has been a fruitarian or herbivore in human history today. We haven't got any definite, clear proof of that ever having happened, right?
Correct. Yeah. History. Fire was said to be discovered about 10,000 years ago, and history could be like hundreds of thousands of years. But one of the things I do want to stay in this area before going on, you did say a word, and I'm big on words, and you said a word as if it was like true in describing one of them, and then what I said, the frugivore, and you said the word extreme. So I want to if we could
I can't remember using the word extreme. What was the rest of the context of the word?
Not only are we doing
vegan,
herbivore, we're even more extreme,
yeah.
and we're going to frugivore.
Yeah.
So and just the word, and there's so many people who would agree with that, like that is extreme.
Well, it's at the end of a scale, isn't it? So if you look at a pH scale, you've got 1 and 14, and 1 is one extreme, and 14 is the other extreme. When you're looking at the end of a scale, it's the extreme.
Right.
So fructarian.
But who created the scale? See, now, like, we could get deep into this. Like, the scale was created by humans to actually come to a point of that. And my thing is, like, eating natural foods in their natural state is considered extreme.
No.
No.
What's considered extreme?
To most people. To most people.
The reason I'm using the word extreme is because of what you're excluding. You're excluding nearly every possible food with the exception of fruit. That makes it extreme. That's an end of scale.
Well, a frugivore is actually someone who eats mostly fruit, but also does vegetables. Kind of like a vegetarian will have vegetables and they'll also do fruit.
So you're talking about the 80-20 diet, Dr. Morse and all that, I'm assuming, right?
I'm not into any labels or people. I'm really just focused on it. I guess one of my themes that if you eat fruit and vegetables, natural foods, in their natural state without cooking them, that is considered extreme.
Yeah.
And what happens from animal to dinner plate is not extreme.
Well, and what we're calling extreme, Steve, it's not what we're doing to the food or not doing to the food. It's the amount of food that you're omitting from your diet. If you just ate meat and nothing else, as some tribes do in Africa, that's extreme.
I understand what you're saying. I get what you're saying. So simplicity would be considered a form of extremism, because when we get into frugivores and fruitarianism, and we go to what I would consider the highest levels of eating, energetically speaking, for sure, and then the debatable, like we're talking nutritionally and all of that, but energetics, like from an angstrom meter. And so when we're talking about things like that, we human beings, especially in the last 100 years, have gotten into more and more and more, and we need more, and more is going to be the more. And I'm so much into Steve Factor as less is more, and that we can start to eat really, really simply. And so when we eat very simple,
Steve, what you're calling simple, if I only eat carrots, that's as simple as it can get. Right?
Yeah.
Just one food, but that doesn't make it good, right?
Correct.
Right.
It could be good short term. It's actually great short term, not carrots.
Short term, yes, I agree.
Short term, a mono mealing or doing oranges or grapes and really clearing out and stuff like that. But to the degree of, it's like you might say, okay, Steve, Ethan, eat, let's say 30 different things. And I might say, Steve, eat 15 different things. And then you might say, okay, well, I have 30, I have twice as many things of you that are eating. So I'm getting more things coming in, and therefore more is better.
No, that's not correct. That's not correct. But the argument of an omnivore is that balance is what you're after. Okay,
I understand.
You're after balance, and different groups give different areas of balance.
Yes.
So
that's why I eat fruits and vegetables.
Right. I know that sounds. At this point in time, we have no proof of such a diet being long-term healthy. So you're on an experiment right now.
What is long-term there? So we have different things.
Long-term is that you can be healthy, that you can reproduce.
Right.
Right, and because it's all about reproducing, and that your children can grow as healthy with the same diet, and that they can reproduce and on and on. So if you can reproduce healthy children who reproduce healthy children, that's the definition of healthy. So
good. So there's five generations of that would be considered long term for you.
Yeah, and 5 generations would be reasonable.
My long term would be considered like for one person this life on Earth.
Right,
and
but
yours is like 5 generations.
Yours doesn't stand up because we've given a diet to animals for 1 generation and it's been fine, and it's not till the 2nd and 3rd and 4th generations where the problems appear. So you cannot tell from 1 generation. You can't.
Okay, so what you just said, I'm going to throw something in there because you said something as if it were a truth, and that is that we've been eating more than 1 generations of animals and we're fine. And so what I want to say to that is there's 8.75 million species on planet Earth. Only 1 is in a health crisis. Only 1 has 20 to 30,000 different names in the American Medical Association for disease or illness. I don't know if humans are doing fine.
Okay, well, let's look at that because I think there's no logic to that. So let me explain.
Yes.
We have been eating a mixed diet across around the world. Different tribes, different peoples have eaten a whole range of different diets that have included fruit, plants, fruit, vegetables, seeds, nuts, milk, meat, the whole lot. We've been eating that for all recorded history.
Yes.
And it hasn't caused an epidemic of chronic disease until this generation. Mm-hmm. So what has gone on that's changed in this generation? It is not about eating meat or drinking milk or any other things. What it is what they are doing to our food in a factory farm system. They are destroying our food, not just meat. They're destroying our meat, our milk, our plants. Everything is being destroyed. And
that is true. That is true. But there is also one other thing that's happened, not except that. there are a couple of, well, there's many other things, but one that goes on, and I'm sure you'll agree, is the environmental pollution that's around. And, you know, we're almost at 5G and all that kind of crazy stuff. That's one. But also, I just lost my thought.
So on this point then, so tell me this. So vegans commonly tell us that meat causes cancer. Okay?
Yes, correct.
I believe that the vegan that says that is either, and no disrespect to yourself, but they're either a liar or an idiot. And here's why. Because we've eaten meat for thousands of years without the cancer.
Yes.
So there's no possible way it can be the cause unless they've done something man-made to the meat.
I agree.
Which is in fact what they have done.
Exactly. That's one of the things. But here's the other thing, and this is what I was going to say, is that what has changed in the last 50 to 100 years, besides the environmental toxicity, besides what they've done to meat, is the amount. And I know you'll agree with that.
Well, actually, I don't agree with that. Because
the amount of meat?
Yeah, because we've got peoples who've eaten solely meat, just about 100% meat, and stayed healthy around the world. So we may be eating more meat than maybe we are eating more meat than my grandparents ate, for sure. But we've had civilizations that have eaten more than we eat without health problems.
Well, did they eat more, or is it true that human beings their plates have gotten bigger? Like if we look at the 1950s average weight of female and male, and the average weight of female and male in 2020, there is we've gone up about 30 or 40 pounds globally. Obesity has increased.
Yeah, but that's not from eating meat. There's other reasons for that. Sugar being one of them.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Too,
listen, we've only got how long? 10 minutes left. So I want to.
Oh wow! Okay.
So I want to cut through fairly quickly now. So I'm curious to you, like, if we're herbivores,
frugivores.
Well, okay. if we're frugivores, right? Yeah. Can you name any other species on the planet that's a herbivore, or even more, a frugivore that can survive perfectly happily on meat only?
On meat only?
Yeah, because humans can do that. So what other species can do that?
Can humans survive on meat only?
Yeah, we've got various peoples that have done that. Yes.
Wow, that's amazing how the human body can go through that. And the reason why they say that meat causes cancer, because there's so many variations to that, but is the acidity, and we only have 10 minutes to go into like the difference between alkaline and acid and all that,
and balance that we need.
Right, we do need both. Humans, we can't get too alkaline.
My question is, which species can you name? Like a cow is a herbivore. If you fed a cow just meat, would it thrive? No, it would die. So name a herbivore, or a frugivore even more, that can eat only meat and survive. I will put to you that there isn't such a thing. A herbivore doesn't have the digestive system or the capabilities to deal with meat. It can maybe eat some, maybe, but if it was just meat, it would not last very long.
Yeah, I cannot name that, and I don't know how the people who did eat all meat and how well they really did, and all that.
Very
kind of
healthy,
stuff.
very good bone structure. Certain tribes in Africa, warrior tribes, the men, not the women, but the men just eat meat. They're strong warriors. So I would put you a herbivore or a frugivore, even more, could not do that.
Yeah, I don't think any of the animals would ever try to do something like that. Only humans would say, let's do this one thing. Yeah, my main point is that I have seen people who have done for decades on vegan, have had children that are healthy and vegan themselves,
Okay, so let's finish with this point, Steve. Let's finish with this point, so because I agree with you. So I've seen some people, I've seen many do very badly on a vegan diet, but I have seen some people who are healthy and strong. They've been on it 10, 15 years. As far as I can see, they look really healthy. But here's my first point. Are they taking supplements?
So, many are.
Right.
Many people. Veganism, it's really important for me to let your followers know. If you say the word vegan, that does not mean healthy.
No,
you could be eating Oreo cookies exclusively.
Right. I'm talking about the vegans who really know what they're doing. Oh, you've gone. Hello, Lisa. We've lost him. I might try and get him back. Let's see if I can.